Well, hey there, and welcome to the debut of Living a Limitless Life. In this episode, I'm going to share with you just exactly why this girl started this show. Hey there, you're listening to the Living a Limitless Life podcast. I'm Sharon Hughes, and on this show, we talk about mastering your mindset, growing your faith, and becoming the leader you want to be, with tips, strategies, and interviews to help you create a life you love. I'm really glad you're here. So come on, let's go. So hey, thanks for joining me. I'm really glad you're here. I'm hoping that this podcast will truly serve you and be a resource that you will find answers to some of your questions about life. We'll be right here waiting for you. We're going to do this journey together. I'm going to share with you the things that I've learned, and I'm also going to bring on the people that I believe are influencers, thought leaders, and that have walked in the shoes that can that we want to understand. Does that make sense to you? Like, they've already been in the shoes, right? They're going to turn around and share their story with us. That's what I want to do here. But first, I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you. So there will not be profanity or really graphic information here, but if you have small children in the room, you might want to put in earbuds or listen to this just a little bit later. Because my story is pretty messy. So do that now. Put in your earbuds. Okay, got them? Good. I'm going to do this really rated G. I overcame just a ton of stuff growing up. And one of them was being a trauma survivor. When I was 16, I went to a Halloween party and I was handed a drink. And as this is not going to be a Hallmark movie, you can figure out where this is going to go. Well, 7 hours later, I woke up in a garage. So there was trauma from that, but the worst thing was actually the trauma that came afterwards. So I had parents that just really just didn't have a clue in one sense, were abusive in another sense, and they just compounded really what had already happened to me. And that was where everything went incredibly sideways, was when I came home at about 4:15 in the morning following this Halloween party, not getting help, no police report, no medical attention. And what happened was I walked away believing that I had no value, because when I rang the doorbell to wake up my parents to get back in the house, they just looked at me. They didn't ask any questions, and nothing was ever said about it again. It wasn't that long after that that I ended up living with my dad, who had also remarried, and he didn't have really much of a clue of what was going on. He was an alcoholic and he was a very abusive man as well. And there was a lot of family issues, as you can imagine, from all of this. And then he decided that at 17, I just should not live there anymore, and he told me to get out. So that resulted in basically being homeless. And I slept on a few couches until an older brother found me and took me in. And here's what was crazy. The older brother was dealing drugs and his wife was a stripper. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty let's bake cookies and have a picket fence and, plant flowers in the front yard. How I turned out like this, I don't know, because it was sheer chaos all around me and survival mode just to get here. So, fast forward, 3 decades really, to where I started a business and was somewhat successful at it. I decided to put on events for women to encourage them to follow their passion and their bliss. And one thing led to another. Then I got certified as a life coach. And while I was doing that, I had this great big pivot. And here's where the faith piece really comes in. I had grown up more or less in church. I had always practiced the Christian faith. I know you're probably wondering, well, how could you, when you have all that crazy chaos, like how could you be the victim of so many different things and still actually believe in God? And I am going to cover that in an upcoming episode because I really want to unpack that and let you know just exactly why I am not jaded and why it has not affected my faith, but has actually deepened my faith. So that'll be a whole nother episode. But fast forwarding to just a couple of years ago, I decided that at the entrepreneurial events I'd been holding for women, all of a sudden I didn't want to talk about business anymore, but I wanted to talk about matters of the heart. And I completely pivoted. Took a couple of years and just to do a ton of growing, a ton of soul searching, a ton of healing to get to this place of being able to share my story. I only came out and started talking about this whole thing about a year and a half ago at the time of this recording, and this is March 2019. I was diagnosed with PTSD just a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was only reserved for people that went off to war. And I did not know until I was certified as a critical incident stress debriefer that you can have PTSD from being in a car accident, observing a car accident, a variety of different things. You don't have to go to war and you don't have to have some type of an assault or trauma on your physical body to have PTSD. So it's a very interesting topic, and I really hope I'm going to have the opportunity to bring an expert on to talk more about that topic. I think mental health and wholeness is, it's everywhere right now. We're seeing it everywhere in social media, and rightfully so. It is time. It is time for people to start knowing that they have value and that what has happened to you is not what you are. Like, of course, it has something to do with shaping how you can think or what you believe, but it does not necessarily own you. And I think that that's the big takeaway here. So for anybody that's listening to me and is thinking like, oh, this, terrible thing has happened to you somewhere in your life and how it has overwhelmed you, and it's always in the back of your mind, it doesn't have to be that way. And the reason why I say that is because I figured out how to make it stop. Now, do I still fight? Do I still have my days where I roll out of bed and I'm off? I'm not on my game? Absolutely. You guys, that's being human. That is so just being human. But it does not have to own you. So let's jump into a little bit of mindset work right here. First of all, I want you to understand that you have the power to choose. The power to choose is like your superhero power. Are you tracking with me? You get to choose what you're going to believe about yourself. So now I have to ask you, what is it that you're believing about yourself? I want you to stop wherever you are, if you can, and just think, what do I believe about myself? If you are walking around believing that you have no value like I did, or that nobody loves you, I want you to ask yourself, is that true? Is that true? It's probably not true. Whatever that thing is that you're thinking about that's holding you back, that's overshadowing your life. I would say 99% of the thoughts that keep us trapped, small, voiceless, and not growing, they're not true. If you are believing a half-truth, let's stop and talk about that for a second. I want you to understand, here's the huge takeaway right here. Believing a lie is just as powerful as believing the truth. I'm going to say that again for you. Believing a lie is just as powerful as believing the truth. So what is the truth about you? This is where you've got to dig really, really deep. I'm going to be covering these type of topics like from here on out, believe me, because I know the work that it takes to dig deep and to keep on your path of being healed and whole and strong and believing truth. So let's tie this all back up in a bow right here. Once again, You have the power to choose what you're going to believe. 2, what is it that you're believing about yourself that's keeping you stuck? And 3, is it true? I've asked those questions in a room. I do some corporate training, and I'll never forget this day that I was training a group of about 30 people, all different ages. It was guys and girls. And when I got to that question, I said, close your eyes. I want you to think of what it is that you're believing about yourself. 2 people burst into tears. I was not prepared for that at all. And I realized afterwards, how heavy is that question? That's something that you need to sit with, because you might be believing several things about yourself that's not true. So what is it? Let's talk about, where does that come from? Who told you that you're not enough? Who told you that you don't matter? All right. Don't buy the lie. Don't buy the lie. I know this is heavy, but I am so vested in bringing you content that's going to help you grow, that's going to help you get to the next level, that's going to help you love yourself and know that you matter. And we'll also be talking about faith. So wherever you are on your faith journey, you're welcome here. I know faith is a pretty hot topic, and it's okay if you have questions. It's okay if you have doubts. We'll also be covering a lot of leadership. There's a ton of you out there that are in the trenches trying to lead, trying to figure it out. So if you found value in this, I'd appreciate it if you would write a review, share it with your friends, point people in this direction that want to hear a conversation that makes them feel safe, makes them know that they matter, and that they can come as they are. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and I wish you every good thing.